All right, everybody. This is Phil Ferguson. And of course, you are either watching or listening to The Phil Ferguson Show. And if you're looking at the video, you got to forgive me. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, right? I know I'm out of focus, and I know the camera is making me even wider than I am, and I don't know how to fix it. So if anyone sees this, yeah, we were talking about that earlier. If I put my hand up, uh, the balance is okay, and then something happens, and it's an automatic setting. It's a focus. It's a brightness thing. Uh, but I just want to give you that heads up. And of course, I have with me Jasmin, and is it Falk, right?
Oh, yes.
Falk. And I've sometimes seen a third name. Do you go by that anymore, or
Nope, I go by Jasmin Faulk.
okay, Jasmin? And you are going to be on the talk about. First of all, we didn't cover this like I normally do. Whatever the fuck you want, and you can
Okay,
swear.
I love it.
And you are supposed to shamelessly self-promote, so that's
Okay.
fine. The only thing I don't really allow on my show, this is like behind the scenes stuff people don't normally get to know about. I just don't allow people to punch down. Are you familiar
Okay.
with that
I love it. Yep.
concept? Yeah. So we're here to talk about you and lift you up. So
Love it.
welcome to the show. And of course, her video is much better than mine. Um, but it is what it is.
But I
And
don't have the fancy mic, Phil, so
you don't have the
we
fancy.
balance each other out.
Yeah, whenever you look for microphones, shop for microphones, this mic, they will tell you that it's the microphone that Michael Jackson used in recording Thriller. And I go, who the fuck
Oh.
cares? Right? But it's a
Well, no,
very,
no, I do appreciate that because I was telling you earlier, my sons are musicians. One in
yeah,
particular is a producer and audio engineer. He's got like, I don't know, 9,000 mics, including mics that he has told me this particular artist recorded. And one of them was a Michael Jackson something. I can't remember. So, Eros, if
yeah.
you're listening to this, I apologize. But I value that. I'm with you on that.
And I always tell new people, video or audio only, don't overdo the microphone. I mean, this is nice, but you can get, I think it's a Shure SM58 or SM58. Man, I don't even remember the model number, but it's like $100 microphone. You can buy it used, and musicians around the world use them, and they can play football with these things and drop them on concrete over and over and over, and they still work. And the nice thing about that is, if you decide 3 or 4 months later you don't want to do podcasting anymore, you can put it back on eBay and sell it for
There
almost the
you
same
go.
price you paid for it.
Yeah.
But that one has a thing called a proximity effect, which this microphone does not have,
Mm.
where with the proximity effect, if I get closer to the microphone, here it just gets louder. But with the SM58, it gets deeper. So
Oh.
so you can play games that I can't do with this. So what's new? Where are you? Is that allowed? And how's it going? You know,
Yeah.
how's life treating
Um, Interesting time in my life right now to be chatting, Phil. Last time we got to visit, we were at BajaCon at
you?
the
Indeed.
fabulous conference
And that
up
was
in
6 months
Ontario.
ago, 5 months
Yeah,
ago. We've
in
been working
August.
on
Yeah,
this.
it was
Yeah.
wonderful. It was a great conference. Had a wonderful time. We've had a couple of really fun exchanges and it was a wonderful time. In the meantime, a lot has changed in terms of my personal um, interlinked with my professional. I actually was, there's no elegant way of saying it, but I was fired from my job. And
Okay. The
part of the
DEI
reason,
job.
what's that?
The DEI job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. I wasn't fired because of DEI. I was fired because of the other side. So normally, for those of us who are, and I speak for myself, I don't know about you, Phil, but those of us who are kind of on the lefty side, the liberal side, the progressive side, we kind of have a little bit of an arrogance about how we think this work needs to be done. And recently I've been sort of disenchanted with how the side does this kind of work. And um, sure enough, I fell completely just as everyone else, not immune and victim to the excessive cancel culture, the policing your language, the not allowing room for critical thinking. And so I ended up losing my job because I was fairly outspoken on some issues and some topics, and primarily really just wanting to defend freedom of speech and being able to vocalize concerns from within, you know, um, party practices, if you will. And higher ed is not a safe place right now for critical thinking, believe it or not.
I know, and I'm guessing from what I know about your history, which is not a ton, but I watched a few videos of yours where you went over your book
Mhm.
before this. Uh, you just keeping your mouth shut and saying what needs to be said to get away with something is not really your strength.
Not at all. No, you
Eh,
figured that out very
Yeah,
quickly.
well, I mean, I know the type because that's me, and it's gotten me in trouble over the years, but it's also been very beneficial in the long run. People know what when I say something that's really what I think, for
Right.
good or ill.
Hmm.
It's my opinion on it. So I am so sorry to hear about the job loss.
I
And
appreciate that.
well, I kind of heard one of the interviews where you mentioned DEI. I was like, oh.
Oh, we can talk about that. I'm very happy to
Yeah.
dissect it. And it deserves to be.
Well, who were
Um,
you working for?
I was working for a college, a local college. So yeah, I was the director of DEI, which you would think gives room for that kind of work. And, everywhere I have gone and taken sort of this kind of work with me, I've always been very transparent about the fact that I believe in the old school principle of this really has to be broad, inclusive, and should include protection of all walks of life, right? As long as no one's harming anyone and no one's causing any danger to anyone else and or disrupting someone's livelihood, there has to be room for negotiating all ideas and thoughts, and everyone should be able to express that safely. But in recent time, and where I live in Washington State. We lean heavily in our directions and in our spaces, and the extreme representation of those ideologies on either side, whether it's the right or the left, or if there's up or down, or whatever corner you want to run to,
Yeah.
that extreme position always ends up causing harm, to not just to the other side, but to themselves as well. And that's what I'm witnessing right now.
And a lot of my listeners or watchers will know I live in Florida primarily.
Hmm.
Uh, and I know the academics in this state, there's lists of words they can't use. There's lists of books they can't recommend, they can't have in schools. Local districts ban books. It's pretty far out of control. You can't say like evolution. You can't say global warming.
Hmm.
You definitely can't go anywhere near DEI stuff.
Hmm.
And I'll
Hmm.
have these conversations with people, and they'll say, "We got to come up with a better name for DEI other than DEI." And I said, the very fact that you suggest that suggests to me that you don't understand the problem. It's not the
Right,
name.
right,
Whatever you, if you say it's just inclusion, if you say equal rights for everybody,
right,
then they're going to attack that. They're attacking DEI because they're attacking the concept, and it happens to be called DEI.
right,
So they just don't want everyone to have a fair chance. The
right,
privilege being removed is an attack on the privileged. It always is.
right.
And your background is very different than mine, and we can talk about how much fun you've had over the years in your journey. And I've had a lot of opportunities simply because I'm a white guy
Hmm.
and I'm well educated. When I was growing up, my parents didn't have a ton of money, and they had months and maybe for a couple of years where they struggled every month what was going to get paid and what was not going to get paid. And my
Hmm.
wife and I, when we were newlyweds and had little kids, we sometimes didn't pay shit because
Hmm.
we didn't have enough. And I remember in college, I had one time, and of course, I was in college, right? So it's a privileged position to be in, where I was extremely excited when McDonald's had the 2 for $2 quarter pounders with cheese, because I would go buy two of them, and one was for one day, and the other one sat in the fridge for the next day, and that was all I ate for the entire day was a double quarter pounder. No, it was just a regular quarter pounder with cheese. That was my food for the
Yeah,
day. But you grew up in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia. I can't say
I
it.
did. Yeah, I sure did.
And it's molto importante a parla italiano fluentemente, sì?
Bravo, sì, sì, sì. La mamma è italiana, quindi parlo italiano.
Sì, sì. And es muy importante hablar
Ah,
una otra lingua. See, I'm mixing Spanish and Italian because
you
now
are,
I'm
as
working.
most people do, those two languages. I
Oh,
can't
it's a
do the
problem.
Spanish without jumping into Italian.
Yeah, I've been practicing Spanish more because I'm hoping to go on a trip. But walk me through how do you have an Italian parent and a Saudi parent and end up in Saudi Arabia instead of Italy?
I know, right? Yeah, that's the $1 million question that I don't know that my parents ever answered, and I don't
Yeah.
know that I ever will get an answer other than patriarchy, the man sort of leads that family dynamic, and whatever is formed is sort of a part and parcel of the male and the patriarch of the family. So my father, who was born in Saudi Arabia, went to Italy in the 1960s for his education. He was part of the first generation of Saudis that were sent abroad to study, and he chose Italy because he was interested in architecture and design and art. So he was sent to Florence, the capital of art in the world, of course. And my mom is from Florence. So they met as students, early 1960s, married in the late 1960s, and then started a family in Saudi Arabia in the 1970s. And I was born in 74. So yeah, so growing up, I had a very interestingly confusing childhood because my parents never really talked about it as if it
Right.
were abnormal. They just, which I think in some ways is really good because they just sort of made it a matter of fact. But obviously, the older I got and realized around me that, okay, there's something really weird and different about my family, thus started my journey to self-exploration and continues till today.
Yeah, and I know at some point you started scheming, plotting
Yes.
how to get out, and
Yeah.
uh, you have a book, right?
I do. Yeah, I
This
wrote a
would be the
memoir.
shameless plug book now.
Yes.
What
Yes.
is it called?
So The Last Sandstorm is my memoir, and The Last Sandstorm addresses basically my story from, childhood all the way to the moment I escaped, which was in 1999, and I was in my mid 20s. So it took a minute, but it finally happened.
And I don't want to go over too many of those details because you've
Sure.
talked about it so many times. It's
Yeah.
wonderful stories. People can look for those other places. But as you aged, you got to a certain point where you were required to wear certain types of clothing.
Yes.
I am not even going to try to pronounce any of these words. So why don't you tell us about the required dress that you had to have?
And I will say, Phil, it wasn't as I aged. I was a child. I mean, this
Yeah,
is things that little girls, 10, 11 years old. So it's basically when a girl hits puberty, she's expected to adhere to all the standards that women are expected to
because
adhere to.
you're an adult.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, once you hit puberty, you are technically, by religious standards, an adult. And so girls have to cover their faces and wear the abaya, which is the cape. The abaya is the cape, and then the cover is either shela or tarha. There's lots of words for it, but basically it's the full covering. And abaya is sort of the word that most Westerners use to kind of indicate the entire covering. So yeah, since age about 10, 11 is when I started to wear that. And it's not because I hit puberty, my parents were like, all right, it's time to do it. It's because at the schools, where again, keep in mind, there's segregated girls on one side and boys on the other. There was a gate monitor that watched girls go in and out. She was on the inside of the school and watched girls go in and out every day, and basically assessed if it was time for them to cover up just by looking at them. So if you looked a little overdeveloped, or I don't know, voluptuous, or maybe your breasts are starting to show. I don't know how she deciphered that. In fact, she didn't know when I got my period, obviously, and I was very skinny. I was able to get away with it. My sister, on the other hand, who's younger than me, is a little more maturely formed than I am at that age. And my sister was the one who was called out first to be expected to cover. And when she was, then my parents were like, well, you're the older sister. You can't have her going around covered and you not. People will talk. And so that's how I ended up being forced to cover as well.
That's one decision that your parents made that I can't find fault with. Having two kids myself, if the
Yeah.
younger one is required or gets away with something, then the older one obviously has to
Yeah,
qualify.
not fair, but I guess I understand it. But
Yeah,
I understand it because in that society, there's no mercy in
yeah,
terms of, judgment and yeah,
yeah. And the parents are
it's
like,
severely
we don't
punished.
need this kind of hassle. But
Nope.
uh, to be your true self and to be allowed to speak in public, these were things that were no longer available to you. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't know before, but you had detailed that even your voice
Yeah.
was a problem. That the very the very essence of the female voice being spoken in public
Yes.
could make men boil over with their hormones and do something that the woman would regret. So it would kind of be your fault for speaking.
Pretty
So
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some schools of thought in the Islamic interpretation that basically and essentially deem a woman's voice as an arousal factor, as a temptation. So not just her skin, her face, everything, because some of them cover from head to toe. You can't even tell what the skin tone is because they wear gloves. Yeah, they're really covered from head to toe. But their voices are also sheltered from any exposure, especially in front of men who are not your guardian. And so in public, it's a very silencing experience. And can you imagine someone like me, half Italian, that can't stop talking, not being able to speak as well? So, those were the messages I was receiving growing up, because at home it wasn't like that. But then outside in the actual real world, it was a very different experience.
The real world. That's an interesting choice. Uh, so you plotted, and you figured out how to get, and you left and went to Italy to visit family for a few weeks, few months.
I did no, it was just for a couple of weeks. Well, actually, a little less than a couple of weeks. I went to visit my aunt, who is my mom's sister, who at the time I didn't even know was very ill and actually dying. So, but I went via Italy to visit my family, and then from there, sort of, you know, take my final, route out to the United States. And I do detailed all that in the book
Yeah.
and in other podcasts. So if folks are interested, I'm not going to spend too much time on that right now, but I do end up making it to the United States in 1999. In the meantime, I had fallen in love, met and fallen in love with an American man in Saudi Arabia. And so that was kind of our little escape together. And this was after an already failed marriage to a Saudi young man. So I gave it my all. I tried. And then eventually I was like, okay, I'm 25, damaged goods. This, first marriage is clearly not it for me. And so I decided to leave. And I, up until the time that I left, there were no successful stories of women attempting to escape successfully. They were
Right.
always caught. They were always, punished. And so when I left, I definitely did scheme a really safe way to get out, because you can't leave without your guardian signing off and approving and having a letter that that you have to take to the airport with you. And so it's a pretty big ordeal. And this is Saudi Arabia in 1970s, 80s, and 90s, even into the 2000s. Things have changed a little bit in the last few years. We all know that. We watch the news. But I address specifically my story, because I always get comments. People are like, it's not like this here. What are you talking about? You're lying. And I'm like, okay, calm
Yeah.
down, everybody. I'm speaking to my experience. I'm 51, so clearly it's been a minute since I've lived that life. But what I think is so urgent is for us to not talk about it, is for us not to pretend like it didn't happen, because that's the cycle we get into. Is we become complacent when we gloss over history, not address it, not talk about it, because it will show up and repeat itself in some other way at some point.
Now, did I hear correctly that some popular magazine recently put someone on the cover in full dress, full Islamic Muhammad? Oh my God, I don't even know the words to say. You know what I'm talking about? No.
What magazine was
I
this?
was think I wanted to say People, but I don't know if that was the case. But
Do you know what the context was?
I think it was a celebration of different culture. You know that we should appreciate this different culture, and if people in different countries want to dress in different ways, then it's okay, and we shouldn't be afraid of a hijab or with all the different names that you have for it. Because again, my apologies for being so
And they're
ignorant.
all different, absolutely.
Yeah,
I will say this: I'm not a fan of that.
yeah.
I am a fan of celebrating cultures and people's ways of life and customs and how they dress and all that. That I'm absolutely a fan of. I do think that we have to be very careful when we're celebrating culture and tradition versus religion. No other religion gets the level of celebration that Islam gets. All other religions, we don't celebrate their cultures and customs and norms. In fact, we are usually averse to a lot of other religions, but somehow we have turned Islam into some type of cultural, traditional, thing to celebrate, when in reality, it's probably the most oppressive religion when it comes to women and women's
Oh,
freedoms and ways of life.
yeah. I think there's some other contenders, but as far as the number of women oppressed, there is no one close to
Right.
the power and influence that Islam has in the Middle East and Indonesia, Southeast I think it's, yeah, Southeast Asia
Southeast Asia,
area.
yeah, absolutely. And you are right. Most religions oppress women in some shape or form.
Yeah.
I absolutely appreciate you recognizing that. I think with Islam, it's a visual. And there's something really appalling about celebrating the visual of women covered. At least when you got a Christian woman on a cover, she's not necessarily covered from head to toe, even though her oppressed experience is really invisible. For a Muslim woman, it's very visible.
Yeah, and I've seen couples, particularly in Disney World, since I live in Florida, we go there a lot,
Yeah.
where there's a couple and they're walking. They may or may not have children, and the man is in front,
Yep.
and the woman is what,
I
three or
knew you
four
were going to
feet?
say that.
Yeah, 3 or 4 feet behind him. They have to be behind him, but they can't be
Yep.
too close. They can't walk next to him.
Yep.
They sure as shit can't walk in front of him.
Mm-mm.
Um, and then you also have talked about, and I've heard this before, where if a mother loses her husband and
Hmm.
her dad and her brother, at some point, a grown ass woman, 30, 40, 50 years of age, might have a son. I guess the son would have to probably be at least 13 or 14.
I mean,
But
officially, yes, but
yeah,
even before then, it's a given. He becomes her
uh,
guardian.
yeah. He's now in charge, at least in public. And if you want to go to the store, God forbid you want to go to the bank. I mean, he's going to go to the bank and do that for you. But you have to have a guardian, someone to
Yeah.
protect you.
Right.
That's always there, even if they're 20 or 30 years younger than you.
Yeah. And it's a legal guardian, and it's not, I mean, it is to protect you, obviously, but it's also pretty much to boss you around.
Yeah, yeah.
I will say that because again, I know the comments will probably show up in Saudi Arabia and in most Arab countries, most Muslim countries now, they have um, changed the guardianship laws in terms of it being required by the government. And this is not till 2018. So up until 2018, women still had to have that guardian in Saudi Arabia. Now they don't need it officially and legally. However, cultural norms, practices, religious or traditional families still uphold that. I mean, the government can say it's not necessary, but the family will say absolutely it is because it is encrypted within the religious, schools of thought.
Well, it also reminds me of in the United States, it's technically illegal to be racist, but come on.
Right, right. Yeah,
I've been around, I've seen it, I've heard it, I will
right.
see it and hear it again. And I do know that over time, the ability to express in public changes. And right now, with the orange turd in charge, a lot of racists have felt elevated, and they can say these things out loud in public. They've thought them before,
Well,
but now,
I will say, I will argue this. I agree with you. It's abhorrent and it's horrible. Um, what's illegal is to act on your racism. You can legally be racist because that is still
yeah, fair
protected
enough,
under,
fair enough.
right? It's still protected under your First Amendment. You can be racist. You can be anything you want to be. You can have any thought, opinion. You can even express it as long as you're not causing harm or hurting someone. So, that's the fine line. That's the dance they dance around that.
That's the DEI expert coming out in here.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. You're allowed to say those things, generally speaking. And we could go on the fun conversations about what do they call it? Silencing people,
Mhm. Cancel culture, which
cancer
is what just
culture.
happened to me. Hmm.
Yeah, left and or right.
Yep.
Humans often want to protect their own asses, protect their own income, protect their own money. And so they do weird things, and then religion adds another layer to the already flawed human. Well, now I have another reason,
Right.
another obligation, or it provides me cover for doing the things that I really want to do anyway. I want to be able to beat my wife and not have anyone even know about it because
Right.
she's covered. So no one knows who you're going to go talk to.
No one. And
Yeah,
I want to go back to the having your guardian. If you are one of those women that has no father, no husband, no brother, no uncle, no grandfather, and no son, the court will appoint a guardian.
well, that's nice of them.
So
Yeah,
just in case there's no, and I know that people will say, well, what are the chances? I had a friend in high school. That's exactly what happened to her family. She had
yeah.
three sisters. There was four daughters. The mother, single child. Her mother was. Her father was a single child. Very ironic and very unusual in Saudi Arabia. And lo and behold, they did not have a male guardian, and the court appointed one to them.
And I know after you got to Italy, you hung out there for a while, went to the United States. and went to the what should we call us, the mecca of liberalism, Idaho.
No, I was in Wyoming,
Why? Okay,
which is
total,
fair enough, equally
totally
amazing.
different. Yeah,
Okay, I will say this though. Yes, Wyoming, of course, is a red state, and of course, we all know, all
yeah,
of that. However, and maybe it was just the timing. I was in Wyoming the entire 2000s, like the 1999 to 2010 essentially. And that was a fabulous decade.
yeah,
And it was fabulous to be in Wyoming at that time. Maybe things have changed now. And I was also in a fairly, what's considered a more blue county, which was Laramie, the Albany County, which is where Laramie, which is the university town, the only university in the state of Wyoming was there. So it's a little more open-minded, but also people minded their own business. And I really
I
miss those days.
I was going to say that part of the country often, like old westerns,
Yeah.
right? You do your thing on your
Yep.
land. I don't
Kind
care
people,
what
good
you do on
people.
your land.
Yep.
If you need something, I'm going to bring you a cake. I'm going to bring you some lasagna.
Yeah.
Throw a little
Well, they
Italian in
usually,
there.
yeah, they usually would kind of show up at
Yeah,
your door. I mean, we had a neighbor who had a cowboy hat and cowboy
yeah,
boots, big mustache, and he'd go mushroom hunting and he'd, knock at the
yeah.
door in the fall once a week and he'd have mushrooms for me. So it was kind of great, and that's exactly what my Wyoming experience was like. It
Yeah.
was it was as American as you can get for an immigrant that, just landed. It was fabulous.
Every once in a while, for my business, I'll have someone who wants to transfer, a large amount of money, and I'll tell them write a check. And they're like, "You want me to write $1 million check?" And I say, "Yeah, because the protections for the mail go back to, the origins of the United States and the postal system. Stealing the mail, like off a train or off of a rider, or taking someone else's horse.
Yeah,
I mean,
seriously.
yeah, and if you lived in Wyoming, you mess with somebody else's horse,
Right.
you
It's like a family member.
yeah, you can die for shit like
Yep.
that.
Absolutely.
And so, there's part of me that's kind of romanticized that rugged individualism, being out on your own and taking care of your own, and you need to have a weapon because of where you live and the territory and the terrain around you. And I get it. And I think in general, most of the people there are absolutely wonderful,
Yeah.
but they've been lied to by conservative media for so long that I think they vote against their own best interests.
Yeah,
And I don't know if you still have any contacts back there.
I do. I do.
Are
I have
are,
great
are they
friends. They're like family.
huge Trump supporters? Have any of
Oh
them
no,
changed their
no, no, no.
mind?
No, like I said, I was in Laramie, and keep in mind, I went to Laramie just a few years after the whole Matthew Shepard
Mm,
tragedy.
yeah,
So for those who don't know, Matthew Shepard was a young student at the University of Wyoming who was also gay and was essentially murdered in a really horrific way. Look up the story.
indeed.
I'm
Yeah,
sure everyone is familiar with Matthew Shepard, but so it happened in Laramie. So I arrived there just a couple of years after that had happened, and so there was a lot more awareness around it. The community really came together with that, and so I think that also develop their tolerance muscle and again it's a university town, so a
yeah,
lot of hippie joints and vegetarian restaurants and kids with dreads. It was a really different time and an image of Wyoming that you wouldn't quite picture.
yeah. And you're not in Wyoming now. You said
I'm in
Washington.
Washington State.
Yep, yep. And you were
Totally different.
employed until recently.
Yes.
Everything's okay. You guys are going to be fine.
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean okay. I'm doing great as in I believe there are some hills I'm willing to die on, and this is one.
yeah,
I can't quite go into the details of a lot of that just because it was super fresh. It literally just happened a couple of weeks ago, but I will say that the impact that it's had on me just psychologically has been pretty horrific because I did not, escape Saudi Arabia 26 years ago to find myself in the United States now, equally silenced, canceled, in face of consequences that are detrimental and
yeah,
destructive to my own livelihood, which is what I'm facing right now. And what I did was I wrote an article where I express and it had nothing to do with the college. This was on my own time. As you know, I'm also a writer. I'm a speaker. I'm a podcaster. I do a lot of this stuff independently. And I wrote an article where I wanted to talk about gender and the implications of gender ideology on women, and how there has to be a middle ground where we can both support, folks who align with a more fluid gender identity, and also women traditionally, and their own lived experience of patriarchal misogyny and,
Hmm.
gender abuse and all of that. So, and I'm a firm defender of women's rights. I will till the last breath I take, because that's my lived experience. And me just addressing this and saying, hey, there's a problem here. And the reason why there's a problem is because on the left, we are not allowed to talk about this. We can't question it without being accused of being transphobic and turf and all that stuff. And that's exactly what happened. So my article was not only, received the way it was, but it was a absolute prophecy. And exactly my concerns expressed in what I said was what ultimately happened. And that's a
Yeah.
problem. That's as big a problem on the left as it is on the right.
Um, it made me reflect on the opposite side when, for a year, my family was in Arkansas. It's a state right below Missouri, and our kids went to a special, I don't know, math, arts, science school, academic
Mhm.
school. And my son was on the chess club, and the woman who was organizing the chess club sent out an email about the next upcoming event, and it happened to be around Halloween time. And
Mhm.
so on the bottom, it was like, each of us is like a jack o' lantern, and Jesus comes and scoops out the icky parts and throws away out the yuckiness,
Oh,
and then puts a light inside of us. You know, classic Christian claptrap stuff. And it was on this email to hundreds of people and their kids in the school. And so I replied to her, and I did it as the reply all because I'm that asshole, right? Where I said, thank you for giving us the information, and I really appreciate what you do and everything. And I said, but I happen to notice in your footer, blah, blah, blah. And this school is open to everybody, and not everybody has the same religious beliefs, blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, my wife, if she had known at the time that I was going to send that, she would have stopped me. Uh, but I sent it, and she sent a nice email back to everybody in the group. Not a problem. I didn't mean anything by it. Just the most wonderful thing. And I thought, well, golly gee, it worked.
it did.
It
Yeah, that's
did
that's how it should
for
be.
about 5 minutes,
Uh-oh.
and then I got the email that was just to me because she responded to the public very
Oh,
nice and polite. But when she sent another email 5 minutes later, she fucking laid into me like, "How dare you attack my Christian beliefs? And I have rights too." And blah blah blah, and just went on this
wow.
rant and basically said, "If it's that big of a problem for you, I'm just going to take you off the list." And I got that, and I responded to her and every other person.
Mm,
So I did back respond to all because she attacked me in private,
good for you.
but
Good for
I
you.
replied to her in public and said, you know, the one of the things that I expressed as a concern, like you're talking about, is I was concerned that I might get excluded, or my son might get excluded, or someone might get excluded if they don't share your beliefs because you made it that clear that it's that important to you.
Right.
And so it just happened, right? The fact that I'm telling you that someone might be concerned about being included makes you exclude me.
Right.
And so that became a big school drama thing. And my wife found out because she was volunteering in the school office.
Uh-oh.
So it rose to the school office and everything. And about a dozen other people came and are like, well, given where we live, this is kind of what you should have expected. And then there were a few that were like, don't worry, I'll forward you the emails so you can stay in the loop. And I'm like, no, that's not the point. I
Right.
thank you for trying. I
Right.
do. But the point is, it shouldn't be this way.
Right.
And we still have that in different settings. We're going to have that.
Mhm.
I don't know. Do you have an easy solution for us all to how to fix it?
I think, oh, well, it's such an easy solution, and
Yeah.
yet we are so fragile as human beings. The
Yeah.
solution is you can express your thoughts, feelings, and opinions and be okay with others not accepting it.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, for those of us who are old school liberals, where we believe that liberty means everyone is entitled to have their belief, their ideas, their life lived as they choose to, as long as you are not infringing upon someone else. It sounds so basic, so simple,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And yet, now those of us who are still upholding this old school liberal view, we're considered, centrists or moderates. I don't care. I don't care about labels. I've always been allergic to labels. I don't care what they call it. Call it whatever you want. Just please listen to the actual message. I mean, the message is that if we turn down the temperature of self-righteousness, whether we're on this side or that side, things will really calm down. I mean, it's like an infection. You got to turn it down with the right antidote. The other thing I wanted to add also was, the fact that, okay, so you do have your belief, right? You can have your extreme views. The problem is usually in the people who are the majority, which are the normal common sense people who probably have a common sense view wherever they stand or wherever they sit, but they're too afraid to talk.
Yeah.
And so then the majority become the minority voices who have taken over the narrative. And then those of us who are somewhat in that common sense space, who actually can't shut the fuck up, as you and I,
Mm.
when we do speak up, then we are considered either monsters or dangerous or horrible. And okay, like I don't care about all that. I'm more concerned about making sure that we are not being cowards and allowing for these extreme forces to just take over.
Yeah, and it's so many ways, big and small. I remember one time after I lost a job at a company, the person that replaced me was my assistant, and she was fantastic, absolutely wonderful. Another side story pops in my head. We were at a meeting at some point while I still had this job, and she was in the meeting, and the top men, because it was all men in that company, something that had happened, something that I had chose to do didn't work out. And I had said that, based on the information I had to make a choice. I made what I thought was the right choice. It didn't work out. But I do want to point out that my assistant suggested we do something different. And what she wanted to do would have been a better choice.
Mm.
And after that meeting, she came up to me and she's like, "Why did you do that?" And I go, "Because that was the truth. You made the right call. I made the wrong call." She goes, "But that's your job to make the call." And I go, "Yeah." And I heard your input, and I heard other input, and I had all this information, and I had to make a choice, and I stand by my choice. But now, with hindsight, and seeing the results of what happened because of my choice, I could see that what you were suggesting was the better choice. And she's like,
Mm.
"I've never in my life ever had a man do that."
Wow,
And I was
that's
like,
huge.
Really? Because it just seems
Yeah, really.
straightforward to me. Um, and so, give peace a chance.
Yeah,
As John Lennon might say,
right.
why can't we just all love each other? We have everything from the pay differential,
Hmm.
big problem. A lot of people don't believe in it, but we have a
No.
lot of people that think the Earth is flat. So I don't know what. And of
Well,
course, I'm not with you today, but I need to do a rant on the whole measles outbreak bullshittery because we have an easily preventable serious fucking illness that can kill children,
yeah.
and we have people voting on that don't even know what the fuck science is or what vaccines are.
The science has become sadly a joke, and
Yeah.
it's terrifying to think that we've come this far just to regress. It's like we have taken all these strides in science to now pretend like it's not real on any side, by the way, because
Yeah.
I mean, again, back to what got me in hot water and in trouble was me saying, I understand we want to support people's lived experiences and how they identify and how they want to live in this world. I am all for those protections. In the midst of this conversation, though, please don't also force me to not refer to myself as a woman. I'm not a womb haver or a chest feeder or like completely dismissing the actual identity of certain women, or then to just say that the binary sex is not real on a scientific level, on a biological level, that's not real. You can argue gender roles and spectrum and fluidity and all that. I am 100% for that. I was a total tomboy. I'm definitely not I'm gender non-conforming. I'm not your conforming type of woman. I'm all for that. But again, back to science, that is a huge, huge concern. We can't just accommodate our evolving, belief system to all of a sudden neutralize everything by silencing it. You can't do that.
I'm all for not silencing people, and I'm also I know in a lot of places now what they'll do is they'll just put in, if it's a smaller place, it's easier to do. I've been in some bars in Chicago where they have 10 bathrooms, and in the same amount of space, instead of having a men's bathroom and a women's
Yeah.
bathroom where 5 or 6 people could go,
Yep.
you have 10 bathrooms.
Yeah.
They all just say
Great.
bathroom on it. And the beautiful thing that I think makes it fair is everybody waits the same amount
But
of
that's
the
how it
same
is in
amount.
Europe. That's
Yeah.
how most
Oh,
bathrooms in Europe are.
depends on where you are, of course.
True.
But
But
the
it's
point,
also that whole door. It's like you're in a bathroom,
yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah,
on the airplane, there's no men and women's
no.
bathrooms.
In
It's
my
a
house,
bathroom and you go in.
everyone can use it, right? It
Right,
doesn't
right.
matter.
Yeah.
Um, the funny side note, I don't know if you've noticed this in Italy, and it might have been a while since you've been there. I don't know. You're still going
I was
back?
there just a
Yeah,
few months ago. Yeah.
excelente. But when a lot of public bathrooms you have to pay for,
Hmm.
and my first thought was, well, if I'm paying €1 or a half euro or €2 in some cases to go into a
Hmm.
bathroom, it's going to be a really nice bathroom.
Hmm.
No, matter of
Hmm.
fact,
Well,
I found the more you pay, the shittier it is. It's like staying in a really fancy hotel. They give you toilet paper that's basically newspaper,
yeah.
and you go into the Days Inn, and it's super double luxury
Yeah.
soft quilted toilet
Yeah.
paper. Anyway,
I'm not a
side,
fan of public bathrooms, period. If you have to use them, you have to use them. But
yeah,
yeah, the expectation is very low.
yeah. So remind us again, what is the book that you
The
wrote?
Last Sandstorm.
Okay.
And my name on the book is Jasmin Faulk Dickerson, the former name you referred to,
Hmm.
but I go by Jasmin Faulk now. So yeah, so it is on all platforms, easily found on all platforms, on my website,
I couldn't
jasminfaulk.com.
find it as an audiobook though.
It
That,
is
that,
not an
that's
audiobook
my
yet.
favorite.
I released it. It's been almost 3 years, no, a little over 3 years now. So I've had so many people just, critique the fact that it's not on audio. I really do think I need to buckle down and get that done. I've had a lot of requests, proposals to get it done, and life
Ah,
was too busy. But now that I have time on
now
my
that you have
hands,
free
maybe
time.
now's the time.
Yeah, and you could maybe make an extra $5
That's true.
by
That's true.
doing that. Uh, you would have no way of knowing this, but a decade or so, maybe 15 years ago, I was a part owner, co-owner of an audiobook publishing company,
Oh,
and it was fantastic. But Amazon crushed us.
oh,
Amazon kept changing the way that the prices are set,
mm,
and then they started doing a thing where if you buy the Kindle version, you can get the audiobook version
mm.
and have it read along as you're flipping through
Oh,
pages in the
wow.
Kindle,
Yeah.
which is totally cool.
Yeah, it is.
But
But
the person buying it would then pay $1 for the audiobook. And if you got 15% on the sales of the audiobook, what was supposed to be a $30 audiobook became a
right,
$1 audiobook.
right.
And so now you got
Yeah, and
15
Amazon
cents.
is horrible to the author as well. I mean,
Yeah. Well, that's monopoly power. It's always like
yeah,
that.
it is.
And we have a concentration of public media and news channels where fewer and fewer owners, and the right wing has spent the money to buy these things up.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it gets better. We have these little whimsical YouTube videos until YouTube decides that
Oh,
they don't
goodness.
want to
Yeah.
have.
I mean, YouTube so far has been a really useful space
Yeah.
for a lot of this important dialogue. Not all the time, because sometimes there's a little bit of censorship happening on YouTube as well. I just can't believe that we live in a country right now, me as a transplant, you obviously as a born American. I can't believe that we live in a country now where censorship is one of our fears. I never imagined the day would come. Having lived under true censorship,
Oh,
probably
absolutely.
the most stringent censorship in the world. It's
Yeah.
mind blowing to me.
And I even know basic things. Of course, Twitter got bought by some crazy man. Um,
There's that too.
Facebook, I don't know, somewhere about a year ago, the algorithm changed. They changed something, and I constantly get conservative media feed content, even though
Interesting.
I block it, I delete it, I block it, I block it, and then
But they want
after,
you to see it.
after I block 2 or 3 times, I leave the platform. And my hope is that they'll say, well, wait a minute. Our ultimate
Hmm.
goal is for you to stay on for hours at a time. And it
Right.
helped me with the doom scrolling because I see 2 or 3 videos that are telling me that, Biden's at fault for the economy. And I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
So
not on, I haven't been on Facebook since
yeah,
2016. So
it's very
I,
handy because I have 5,000 friends there and I can reach a lot of people. And
I value what it does. I'm on Instagram, which is basically Facebook for
yeah,
young people, but
which Facebook owns Instagram, I think.
exactly. It
Yeah.
didn't used to. When I
Yeah.
was on it initially, it didn't, but it's just a little, there's a little less intensity, I think. But it's all the same. It's literally all the same. And it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that we have to now be careful what we say because we can get fired or lose friends or, I have to tell you, it's in the last few years, like I don't even feel comfortable walking in my Michelle Obama t-shirt or, even, it doesn't even matter what it is that you're trying to confidently promote. Like I don't feel like I can just like walk the world and be a very open, confident feminist like I used to. I still do it, but like it comes with a lot of backlash from every side.
And
Um,
even I, who is, have an oversized head, white guy, with graying hair, I'm the safest category on the planet, except for I'm an evangelical atheist and I'm an outspoken advocate and for people's rights and stuff. Whenever I go on a plane or I'm going to the airport, I turn off all the biometric ways to open my phone
oh,
because they what do I really know? I mean, someone's going to correct me, and please do if I'm wrong. They can't force me to put in my password, but if I have, a fingerprint or a thumbprint or an iris or a face scan, they can hold the phone up to my face, or they can put
right.
my finger on it and make me open it, but they can't make me give them the long multi-digit code. At
Yeah.
least that's
Yeah.
what I think. So I'm worried enough, and even if I'm wrong, I'm worried enough that I do that. I
Yeah.
can only imagine what someone who their family is from Venezuela
Yeah.
or even people from Puerto Rico. I just had the opportunity where I was talking to some friends and they said, I can't believe for the Super Bowl we're going to have this guy from another country, whatever his name is. And I said, who are you talking about? And they're like, this guy, he's going to come on and sing all these Spanish songs. And I go, he's an American citizen.
Hmm.
And they said, no, he's not. And I go, hey, he lives in Puerto Rico. Yeah, that's not America. And I go, I don't know what to tell you. And,
What?
and then I asked them, I said, did you have a problem when it was Shakira? And they're like, why would we have a problem with Shakira?
He's Colombian.
She is not from the United States of America,
Wait, is she
right?
Colombian? Yes, I believe
Yeah,
so.
she's Colombian. Brilliant. We happened
Oh,
to,
amazing.
we
Yeah,
happened to
absolutely.
see her in
But Jennifer
concert.
Lopez is from Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
She was on, and she's as American as they come for many Americans.
yeah.
Yeah, see, that's such a flawed argument continually.
Yeah,
It's like,
Bad Bunny. I was not able to get the name,
oh
but
no, yeah, Bad
but they're
Bunny.
but they're like, well, who's he anyway? I go, well, he's the number one selling streaming artist in the United
That's
States of
right.
America and all of North America at this
Yeah.
time. So
Where
if
have you been,
yeah, if you
right?
don't know any of his stuff, that's a you problem. That go fix
Right.
that.
And in a country as big as the United States, you would think that we don't all, excuse me, we don't all subscribe to just one thing that we all love. It's not all going to be the same thing. It's not all country music. It's not
Well,
all rap music. It's
apparently
not
they
all
they think
jazz.
we all love Lee Greenwood,
Mm.
and he can come out and do his hits. And I saw online where someone said, well, name one of his songs, and I go, God Bless the USA. So, okay,
Mhm.
name a second one of his songs. God Bless USA remix. I don't know
Remix.
the house version, uh,
The house version, that's good.
the dubstep version. I don't know.
Well, they have turned it into several versions, but
Yeah,
more so the lyrics, and it's just more and more appalling. And you're like, no,
one of my
don't do that.
favorite things to do. Talking about self risk here is pointing out to people that have flags on their clothes or their clothes are flags.
Hmm.
That's technically a violation of the flag code. Yeah, there's a whole book, and you can
Oh,
look it up, and the readers can look it up later. Just look up U.S. flag code. It's not law, to be
okay.
fair. It's not law, but there is U.S. flag code. The way you're supposed to handle the flag, how you're
Hmm.
supposed to display the flag.
Right.
Like you can't even put it up at night unless it's lit, right? So
Oh,
so you're supposed
really?
to remove it at sunset.
Can't touch the ground.
It can't touch the ground. The proper way to dispose of the U.S. flag, do you know what that is?
Bury it?
You
No.
burn it.
Well, okay, so I was
right?
going to say you
So
burn
they're
it, but there's also
right.
blasphemy around
Oh,
burning it.
right, right. So they want to put people in jail or remove them from the country if they burn a flag. I'm like, well, according to the flag code,
Right,
that's
because
the
I
actual
thought I
official
thought I
way.
remember that. So that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, and you can never wear it on your uniform unless you're part of the military or a couple other things. There's rules on when flags can be put at half staff. There's rules on what flags can go above the United States flags, which is no flag, by the way. If you have the U.S. flag, then you can have a state flag and then other flags. Just it's fun. It's like I
That's
feel like I'm
so interesting.
Sheldon on Big Bang talking about
I was
trains
literally just going to say
or
you sound
flags.
like Sheldon Cooper
Yeah, yeah.
because he had his flag show.
That's
Remember
right,
that?
right, right. It's fun with flags,
Fun
um,
with flags
but people will
with
have
Amy.
these
Yeah.
the flag costumes, or police will have flags with the blue line, and firemen will have the flags with the red line. Both of
Okay.
those obvious violation of the flag code. Um, and the one thing that is in the flag code, you can hang the flag upside down
Mhm.
to
For
show
distress.
for distress. Yes,
Yeah.
but it's fascinating, and I'll point out to people. I go, that's a
But yet, when
violation
on
of.
occasion people do have on display an upside down flag on their cars, stickers or
Yeah,
whatever, oh my gosh, there's backlash with that as well. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
like isn't this part of again the constitutional right to be able to express thoughts and opinions? Even bumper stickers now, it's like that's become kind
yeah.
of a scary thing. I mean, people will attack you or bump their car into you or even pull up a gun if they don't like your bumper stickers.
I no
It's
longer have a
insanity.
Darwin fish on my car. I used to do that for many years, but now I'm like, I'm in Florida. I paid real
Yeah.
money for this car. I don't want someone to walk by it and key it.
Yeah, I had a bunch of bumper stickers that I actually removed recently for that reason because
Yeah,
and I'm in Washington. I'm actually in the most lefty area, but I mean I'm also in the capital, so there's a lot of,
yeah.
people that come here to express their opinion.
Yeah, I'll tell people that I used to live in Champaign, Urbana, Illinois, that it's like Seattle or Boston, but in the middle of the United States. It's like Ann Arbor, Michigan, because of the influence of the university. And
Yeah.
it's a relatively small town, but people from all over the world, and you could eat different ethnic food every day for more than a month.
Oh, sounds amazing.
But then you go to other places, and it's not like that. And I don't
Mhm.
want to waste your time. We've had so much fun.
We're not wasting our time. This has been great,
We
Phil.
we can talk all day, and the camera settled down. I'm not
I
glowing
noticed.
anymore. So
You're not glowing anymore on
yeah,
the outside, but you're
yeah,
glowing on the inside.
yeah, because I have the light of Jesus inside. Um, are you gonna take some time and get your podcast back up and going?
Yes. Yeah, yep. I'm going to, so what I'd like to do, and maybe share some of this. My website is where I have most of my information. I'm very active on Instagram, so that's usually where people can follow and engage with. And I love hearing from people. I tend to be fairly responsive. I love talking about all kinds of things. I love talking about, obviously politics, social stuff, religion, the impact on society. I'm a sociologist by education, and so those are and a public policy. I have a master's in public policy and leadership and that kind of stuff. So these are topics that are really important to me, and I really invite dialogue and discourse. I do consulting, so I've been doing consulting independently anyway, and so I haven't done much of it because of my full-time job, but the goal is to remain engaged with the
Right.
community, with society, whether on social media. My YouTube channel is finally getting a little bit of my attention. I haven't been very good with
And
that, so I'd like to.
what do I search for? Just your
Jasmin
name?
Faulk. I'm as Jasmin Faulk
Yep.
everywhere. You can find me, and I'm pretty sure as of right now, I'm maybe one of the few
Few
Jasmine
Jasmine Fox.
One of the few. Yeah, I don't know that you'll look for that kind of name and a bunch of them will show up. I'm pretty sure it'll be me. But if not me, I'm sure it's another wonderful Jasmine Falk. My name is spelled though without an E at the end, so that's a distinction as well.
I do know that Phil Ferguson is a very common name.
It is a common name, isn't
Very
it?
common, yeah. I think Ferguson is in the top 20 as far as last names. It's no Johnson or Smith or Miller
Yeah.
in the United States, but Ferguson's up there.
And is
Um,
Ferguson, what is it, Scottish or English or
yeah, it would be from Scotland. Yeah,
that's what I thought. Okay.
yeah. We had a tour where we stopped. We were on a cruise and we stopped in this small town in extremely north Scotland, in the almost by the Arctic Ocean. And I went into those little teeny grocery store and I hand them my credit card and they look at the credit card and they look at me and they look at my credit card and they go, Ferguson. I have terrible
I
accents,
love it.
and I'm like, yeah, yeah. And they're like, are you from the cruise ship? And I was like, oh, welcome home, son. We're so glad to have.
Oh,
And there's 8 people in the line at the cashier waiting, and the cashier just wants to talk to me.
oh,
And the people in line, nobody gave a shit. They were, oh my God, you're a Ferguson?
oh, that's
Oh, you're
awesome.
on this cruise? And they're like, you got to go to this city and this city where it's the Ferguson homeland and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, yeah, apparently I do. Because if I'm getting this much love in the middle of nowhere, Scotland, what happens if I go to one of the cities that are the ancestral homes
Right.
of the surname Ferguson? But I also get weird with genealogy, and I made my dad so terribly sad because in the later years of his life, he spent a lot of time doing genealogy research
Mm.
on the name and the family, and he'd be like, "Well, this great grandparent of yours went to jail," and I go, "I don't give a shit. I know my
Cool.
parent. I know my parents. I barely met maybe one of my 4 grandparents because they all died at a young
Yeah.
age,
Yeah.
and people beyond them, I don't know them. I don't, you know, a lot of people are really into it and go for it. I hope you enjoy it. Have the most fun. Have your best life studying your genealogy. Doesn't matter to me. So I know I'm weird.
Yeah, it's both. I think it's both. I mean, for people who, didn't have that in their lives growing up and
Yeah,
maybe were adopted and don't have, I mean,
yeah,
there's value in just fostering the culture of the environment you're around. And sometimes it's not necessarily attached to your ancestors, and other times it is.
yeah. I think the only thing that would make me excited about my ancestry is if I find someone who not too long ago came from Italy, so I could
Okay, see,
get a pass.
I'm gonna say that's why I'm partial to ancestry because of that.
Yeah,
I get to brag about that.
yeah.
But I have a t-shirt that says not only am I perfect, but I'm Italian too.
See,
We pride ourselves with our arrogance and our self-love.
yeah. Italia, Italia, Italia.
And you
Well,
were there recently, weren't you?
yeah, we were there 3 times within the last 12 months.
Oh, I'm jealous. I was there
Yeah.
once in the last 12 months, but I am jealous.
Yeah, we the most recent one we went to Calabria,
Oh, wow.
and
Yeah.
it was with a group out of Chicago, and I think they're going to do it again next year, and it's a great trip and wickedly affordable trip, but it's one of these trips that it's all about the food,
Oh,
which is great,
mm,
but you can have a 2 hour bus ride that somehow turns into a 2.5 hour bus ride because there's 100 people on 2 great big long buses, and they have to stop because my wife and I, we are probably the almost the youngest people
oh,
on
wow.
the buses. There's a lot of 70 and 80-year-olds who have family history
Yeah.
from this area. So the
Oh,
bathroom, you can't put 100 people on buses when they're in their 70s and 80s and tell
no.
them to hold it for 2.5 hours.
No.
So
Yeah.
so you drive 2 hours plus, you get to a small town, you have 30 minutes to see the town. I could spend six
Oh,
hours just wandering the streets of
yeah.
a small Italian town. And then we go to some place to eat where they serve you lunch for 2 to 3 hours.
That's how it's done.
Now, that's how it's done when you're showing off the tourists, right? And you can have that in other occasions in Italy, and it's really fun to do. But
That's
when
how
you
my
do it,
family does it all the time,
oh,
Phil.
so when you do it every day, I'm just like, oh my God, I am perfectly happy watching, going by, what is it, Pizza Taglio,
Pizza taglio.
where they just cut a slice, or
Yeah.
a place. We went to this place in Milano where they had arancini,
Oh, yum.
and they had 20 different arancini, and
Mm.
you pick the one, or and it's €2 a piece or something, and you get
Yep.
and you walk by a place and you pay €1 for a coffee, and you buy an arancini for €3, and you talk to people inside for a few minutes.
Yep.
We went into this
That's
one.
that's also a fabulous experience. And for
Yeah.
listeners, arancini are a traditional Sicilian, I
Yes,
believe,
yes,
or
that's where they're
definitely from the
home.
South, rice balls essentially
Yeah.
that are usually stuffed with either meat or cheese
I
or sauce,
I
or
think in
they're
Brazil,
fried.
is it
Mm.
coxinha or something like that? It's a rice,
Hmm.
teardrop rice shaped thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
Absolutely fabulous. Not necessarily great for me as a diabetic type 2. Um, but
On
when I'm
occasion.
walking, but when I'm no, when I'm walking all day, I can eat whatever I want.
That's right. Yes.
It's the
Yes.
American lifestyle. Let me sit in this chair.
Right?
That's the problem. Me sitting
But
in my
see, and
car.
that's the thing with Italians, even if they sit at the table for 3 hours and they'll
Yeah.
have like a 4 or 5 course meal and then wine and coffee. But then after that, they go on the passeggiata and they will walk for at least an hour minimum. You walk everywhere. You're not.
And friendly tip for tourists. You heard it here first. If you're in a nice restaurant and you want some gelato for dessert, and the cameriere comes over and says, "Would you like a dessert? We have gelato." No, is the
No, you
correct answer.
walk to the gelato.
Walk the fuck out of that restaurant.
Yep.
As wonderful as their gelato may be,
Yeah.
on average, the random small town, every town gelateria that's only a block away is going to have way better gelato than inside
And
the
gelato
restaurant.
is not meant to eat while you're sitting down. It's meant to eat while you're walking.
Yeah, it's good. And in the
Yeah.
summer, it's tricky though because it's not quite frozen.
And no, of course not. It's very creamy. Okay, what's your favorite flavor? Let's see if we align.
Cioccolato scuro.
Okay.
It's the
Just
dark chocolate.
cioccolato scuro? Just
Gee.
okay. Mine is nocciole e cioccolato.
See that's good. Or if I'll get chocolate with salted caramel as a combination.
Yeah.
I did learn that another one of my favorite flavors is lemon.
That's such a good one.
Lemon is good. It's often as a sorbetto. It's not
Mm-hmm.
actually gelato,
Mm-hmm.
just because of the consistency of the
Right.
acidity
Yeah.
of
There's
the
no
lemon.
dairy usually. Yeah.
Yeah, but mixing chocolate and lemon in gelato
Yes.
doesn't
Oh,
work.
that was my child one of my
Yeah,
childhood favorites. But I will say nocciola, which is hazelnut
yeah,
with the
yeah,
chocolate. It's like Nutella. It's like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah,
now we're talking.
yeah, yeah,
Good
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, good
Well,
stuff.
we'll schedule a whole nother time to do Italian food.
Oh
How's
my
that sound?
gosh, let's do it.
Yeah,
Yes,
we can
let's
talk
do it.
about that.
Absolutely. Phil, thank you so much for having me. This
And again,
was so great. I love the spontaneity of our conversation because it just took me back to Baja Con.
yeah, we're just. Oh, are you going this year?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not speaking, but I would love to go just to go. So we'll see where I'm at.
Well, everyone, you can see in the bottom of the screen if you're watching the YouTube, Jasmin Faulk. It's spelled there for you. Go check her out on Instagram. Look for her Resurrected podcast. After
Yes.
3 days of death, it's going to come back to
The
life.
podcast is called I Want You to Meet. As of right now, I have 4 seasons on there, fabulous interviews with incredible people. So it's still very active and listened to, and it's called I Want You to Meet.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk to you another time.
Excellent. Thanks, Phil.
Ciao.
Ciao.